It was the bye week for the Falcons. They announced they're finally making the switch from Marcus Mariota to Desmond Ridder. They took the Mariota experiment as far as it could possibly go. I don't know if you can even really call it an experiment. It's kind of just letting Marcus Mariota be Marcus Mariota and running the same experiment that was run for several years in Tennessee. We got a little more of that like wild hair running that we never got in Tennessee.
Right.
He was a much more effective runner. 438 yards rushing the season by far. Most of his career. Just the next step never came as a passer. Now they're going to Desmond Ridder. I mean, it's too little too late, obviously, for the Falcons season. Not that it would have ever mattered to begin with. Is there anything here for fantasy, either from like a super flex Ritter perspective or just a Drake London perspective, or maybe when Kyle Pitts comes off injured reserve? I have to double check when that is happening while you're talking.
So I want to say first that I do think, Mariota's time with the team obviously is over. I do think that Mariota could be fun for fantasy purposes in a slightly more modernized, less archaic offense. Because of that willingness to run.
Nah, he's not good enough.
No, he's not good. I'm not saying he's good, but I mean, if he's in a high volume offense, I think that it could be.
I mean, I think if he was in a high volume offense, it would just immediately become a low volume offense because they wouldn't want it to be high volume.
Possibly. But yeah, speaking of volume, he averaged 4.5 rushing attempts per game. He was 5th in the league among quarterbacks with in rushing attempts. Now, if you assume that Ritter is not going to run nearly as much as Mariota, and I think that that's a pretty safe assumption, then you will have a little more, not a lot more, but a little more drop back volume for the Falcons. So, you have maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 more drop backs per game. That has a small impact on the on the main receivers, on London, on Olamide Zaccheaus, on other guys that we know are NFL players, and so that's the main impact there, is that you're going to get a few more passing attempts per game for these Falcons receivers.
And by the way, Kyle Pitts is done for the year officially. I couldn't remember if he is. I didn't know if he was a candidate to be activated from injured reserve. He is not, but I mean, Ritter, I kind of remembered the knock on Ritter coming out of Cincinnati was that he's like so textbook that it was like almost mechanical, like he was almost like rigid. Mm-hmm. I definitely kind of got the sense when I watched film of him, and by film I mean 3 to 4 YouTube cut-ups. And he doesn't do anything all that impressive. I mean, I guess maybe there has to be a little more passing volume, because why would there not be, like you said? And hopefully that's good for Drake London. I mean, maybe it's good for PPR scamming with Olamide Zaccheaus, but it's hard to. I mean, I could see things getting worse instead of better for the Falcons.
So I one thing that I think we have discovered the hard way this year is that teams quarterbacked by guys who are ready and willing to flee the pocket at any moment, it can be tough action for anybody but the alpha receiver. So in Buffalo, you have Stefon Diggs and no one else. In Baltimore, you have, I guess, Mark Andrews and no one else. In Atlanta, you cannot produce that kind of volume if your quarterback is dropping back and then taking off, and therefore eliminating that pass attempt. It just crushes potential volume. So I think we have to be aware of that going into next year. It's something that I will bookmark myself.
Yeah. So Ritter, I mean, he was never a terror. I mean, he was a decent passer. He was a decent runner. Yeah. He was just kind of like, he's like a classic, like, what is the sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
The whole is summier than the part of its whole.
Yes, basically wouldn't have very high expectations for Ritter individually or for the Falcons.
Right. He's a perfectly mid quarterback. Desmond Ritter.
Man, you got to stop using that.
I will never stop using mid. I will use it until my kids think I'm cool. 61% completion rate in the preseason, 7.7 yards per attempt. He threw 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in 3 appearances. So he is perfectly acceptable as a, kind of like, I don't want to say mid-tier, bottom level NFL starter.
He seems like a 61% completion percentage waiting to happen. That feels like a very, very Desmond Ridder statistic to me.
We have a viewer who smartly says, "Are you saying he's Desmond Midder?"
Oh my gosh.
And yes, I am.
Dear God. Denny's kids must rein him in.
Yeah.
They must rein him in.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay? Respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.